Lagi. We got to go find him. Detail, Hoke! Secure the halyard. Attach flag. Present. Oh!
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner get waved o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave, the brave?
Thank you, Hoke County Sheriff's Department Honor Guard. And thank you, Samantha Ray, for the national anthem.
Each year on September the 11th, the North Carolina Fall Festival tries to do something to help remember the devastating attacks on America. 2,977 people died when 19 hijackers committed murder and suicide, and more than 6,000 others were injured. The immediate deaths included 265 on 4 planes, including the terrorists, 2,606 in the World Trade Center and in the surrounding area, 125 at the Pentagon. The attacks were the deadliest terrorist act in world history and the most devastating foreign attack on the United States soil since the attack on Pearl Harbor on December the 7th, 1941. Most of those who perished were civilians, except for 343 firefighters and 71 law enforcement officers who died in the World Trade Center and on the ground. Another law enforcement officer died on United Airlines Flight 93. 55 military personnel died at the Pentagon in Arlington County, Virginia. And of course, the 19 terrorists died. 372 non-U.S. citizens, excluding the 19 perpetrators, also perished, which represented about 12% of the total. More than 90 countries lost citizens in the attacks, including the United Kingdoms with 67 deaths, the Dominican Republic with 47 deaths, and India with 41. Of the 2,977 victims killed that day, 412 were emergency workers in New York who responded. This included 343 firefighters, 37 police officers, 23 police officers of the New York Police Department, 8 emergency medical technicians and paramedics that were private emergency medical services, and 1 patrolman from the New York Fire Patrol. There were 75 firehouses in which at least 1 member was killed. The FDNU also lost its department chief, first deputy, 1 of its marshals, 1 of the chaplains, as well as other administrative and specialty personnel. 23 chiefs, 22 captains, 46 lieutenants, and 253 firefighters lost their lives that day. Our military have been actively fighting in Operation Enduring Freedom since October 7th, 2001. Between October 7, 2001 and December 31st, 2014, there have been 2,353 deaths, 1,847 killed in action, 505 were non-hostile deaths, and 20,429 military personnel have been wounded in action. But this is not the battle for freedom, not the only battle for freedom over America's history. From 1775 to 1783, 4,435 were killed in battle of the American Revolution War. In the War of 1812, from 1812 to 1815, 2,260 lost their lives. We could go through the Indian War, the Mexican War, Civil War, Spanish-American War, and thousands of men lost their lives fighting for freedom. In World War I, Battle deaths included 53,402, and other deaths were 63,114. In World War II, 291,557 lost their lives, and 113,842 died in other causes than battle. In the Korean War, the total deaths were 33,739, with 2,835 being in other areas, and 17,672 out of theater. In the Vietnam War, 47,434 lost their lives in battle. 10,786 died in theater. 32,000 other deaths. And there were 153 non-mortal woundings. And that's only the ones that are listed because they were admitted into a hospital. In Desert Shield, from 1990 to 1991, there was 148 deaths. There were 235 deaths that were in theater, and 1,565 that had nothing to do with the in-theater battle. In the America's Wars, from 1775 to 1991, 651,031 people have given their lives for our freedom. That's not including those that are still dying daily for our freedom. Some may ask, why do we try to remember September 11th? My reply is this: this day and the lives lost are as important as every other battle for freedom that the United States men and women have given their lives for. They've given it for our freedoms. The North Carolina Fall Festival Board of Directors feel that we should remember those lives lost on 9/11, but it is a great time to remember all of those who have given their lives for our freedoms. Because many things that we think is just our right is actually our privilege, our right to vote, our right to protest, our right to freedom of religion, our right to bear arms. All of those come at a high cost, and it comes at the cost of the lives of the men and women who have died for our freedoms. So instead of looking at them as a right, try to look at them from now on as a privilege, because there are many countries that don't get that privilege. So, thank you for your time, for taking a moment out of your day to, in the quietness of your own heart, to give thanks and to remember those who gave all for us to enjoy the freedoms we so often take for granted.
Thank you, Melissa Pittman, for this 9/11 remembrance ceremony. And now Colonel Donald Porter, United States Army retired, will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
First of all, good morning, Hoke County. Good morning. Good morning, Raeford.
Good morning.
For those of you who may not remember me, I'm the former economic developer, as Commissioner Leach used to say. I'm sure he still is. The greatest county and the greatest city in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for inviting me back today. Please join me in the pledge to the greatest flag in the world. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much.
Now we'll have an invocation. Mayor of Raeford, John McNeil III.
Good morning, everyone. And what a great day for this. We've had to postpone it once, but the Lord has blessed us with a beautiful day today. Let's go to Him in prayer. Dear God, we're assembled here today to dedicate these monuments in recognition of our forefathers whose name appear on these monuments. We're grateful that these men possessed the wisdom, the foresight, the knowledge, and the perseverance in your guidance to write the 12 Articles of the Bill of Rights, the United States Constitution, and the Declaration of Independence. These documents have served our country well for many decades, being the guidelines for our laws, our court decisions, and protection of our inalienable rights. We also honor on this special day in history those who have defended our nation with their lives and service to ensure that these documents will not be overturned by any foreign powers. In your name we pray. Amen.
Good morning, everybody. I want to thank you all for being here. And I did not prepare some long remarks, and I am going to thank a lot of people, but I'm sure I'm going to leave out a lot of people, so please do not be offended if I leave your name out. But anyway, I did want to tell you and I told this story when we had the groundbreaking of this park here, of Freedom Park. But the kernel of this started when my parents were at a county commissioners convention, and my mother walked by the Foundation Board booth there, and she started talking to the people at Foundation Board and asked them what was going on, and she said, these monuments look great, how do we get one, and how much do they cost? And they said, they're free, we'll come to your community and we'll give them to you. And so Mama picked up one of their brochures and she brought it to me and she handed it to me and she said, make this happen. So that's where this all started. And when she said make it happen, I looked out the window of my office, which sits right across the street, and I saw there's an empty lot sitting there that nobody has been able to decide what we're going to do with it for years, and it drove me crazy to see this empty lot out there. So we started pulling people together, and what we put together was a real collaborative, and it is a testament to our community that all the people came together and gave us this wonderful park. And the two main groups that put together, or the three main groups that put together the money, were the city, who actually owned the lot. So I do want to recognize all of our city council members and Dennis Baxley, our city manager. They were instrumental in providing us the land to put this park on. They're also responsible for doing the parking lot. Our city council members are John Jordan, Mary Neal King, Wayne Willis, Charles Allen, and Robert Conley. And our mayor, John K. McNeil, and Dennis Baxley is the city manager. Next is the county. Our county commissioners graciously approved the funds to do all the landscaping at the park, all this concrete you see. Everything you see out here was provided by the county commissioners, and we want to thoroughly thank them and Letitia Edens, the county manager, for participating in this. Our county commissioners are James Leach, Alan Thomas, Bobby Wright, Tony Hunt, and Harry Sutherland. I also want to thank Foundation Board and the Charters of Freedom. Without them, we never would have had the inspiration and we wouldn't have this park. They donate these, they don't call them monuments, they call them installations, but they donate these installations to communities with absolutely no cost to the communities. Then what they do, they ask the communities to help raise money to pay it forward so somebody else can get a monument in the future. So we do want to recognize them and thank them very much for their participation. I also see we do have another elected official here. I see Garland Pierce in the audience. I want to thank you for joining us. I also want to thank some of our sponsors. There's going to be some more on sponsors, people who have actually donated money, but what I want to do is thank some of the people who have given their time. And those are all of our performers. We have Steve Phillips here, who is going to be singing for us. We have Samantha Ray that just sang for us. We've got Mike Elliott and the All Veterans Parachute team. They very graciously agreed to jump for us. And Tim D'Annunzio with Paraclete, he donated the airplane for the jump. And I also want to thank Kurt Posey with Sunpath. He was the one that had the inspiration for that. He said, if you're having something that's going to honor the veterans, you need some veterans participating, and I know the man. They have also very generously contributed money to the Pay It Forward initiative. I also want to thank Sheriff Peterkin and Sergeant Gibson and their color guard team. We really do appreciate them being here. Let me see if, next, most important, I want to thank my park committee, which was Grace McDonald, David McNeil, and Travis Sutherland. And Travis Sutherland's team has put in countless hours here at this park, not only looking after the installation, but they have kept it clean. They're out here polishing the monuments, keeping the sidewalks clean, trimming the grass, replacing shrubbery. They have done an excellent job, and I really would like to give them a special round of applause. I also want to thank Melissa Pittman. I do appreciate you making the presentation for our 9/11 ceremony, and glad we could be a part of that. And I also want to thank Colonel Donald Porter, my predecessor as the economic developer, for coming and speaking with us. With that being said, I'm now going to turn it over to Mike Unruh. He is going to talk a little bit about Foundation Forward and the Charters of Freedom.
Thank you, Will. And thank you everyone for being out here with us this morning. What a great day. I would like to take a few brief moments to recognize some of our contributors and sponsors that we've had. I know that Will briefly touched on this, but I would like to point out that we have an area of pavers in front of the Constitution here. We refer to this as the Field of Honor. And one of the ways that you can help us pay it forward to future communities is by purchasing an engraved paver. You can recognize your business, your organization, or you can honor a loved one or someone who served in the military or as a first responder. Jennifer is over here, and you can see Jennifer anytime during the event, or we have order forms over here with Connie under this tent as well. We've already had some great sponsors that have helped us put on the event today. I would like to recognize SunPath Products, Dr. Santangelo and Family Chiropractic, Raeford Hardware, 401 Sand Company, and the City of Raeford Street Department for all of your generous contributions that helped us put this together. If anyone would like to ask any questions and you're not able to see us at the event today, or you know someone who can't be here, you can go on our website, which is chartersoffreedom.com. You can donate through the website or find out more information how to get involved with what we're doing. And on the back of your programs, there is a QR code down at the bottom. You can scan that with your phone, and that will take you directly to the page that you need to go to get involved. All right. Thank you very much, and without further ado, I would like to introduce our founder, Vance Patterson.
I know it's pretty hot out here, but being from the south, I think we'll be okay. Let me tell you, the alternative was 13 degrees up in Clark, South Dakota 2 years ago when we dedicated up there on Veterans Day. So this is much better, and we are working on a little breeze for you, so hopefully that'll kick in a little bit. We do have water over here. If anybody needs water, please help yourself and enjoy. I am so proud of everybody for being here today. My question is, are you ready to be a part of history? Because we're going to dedicate your Charters of Freedom setting here, and that'll make Raeford, North Carolina, and Hoke County part of American history. And your future generations are going to know that you were here. My name is Vance Patterson. I'm from Burke County, which is in the western part of the state, about halfway between Hickory and Asheville. I'm a father of 4, married 46 years to my wife, Mary Jo. I'm a businessman. I have a company that makes industrial fans. We actually make things out of metal, ship them across the country and around the world. I am a very proud American manufacturer. I'm going to tell you about the inspiration that started this foundation that brought you your Charters of Freedom. I'm going to tell you a little about your setting here, and then I'm going to make a challenge at the end for you to take with you, and I know you will. About 9 years ago, Mary Jo and I were up in Washington, D.C., and we decided to go over to the National Archives because we'd never seen the Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution before. We found ourselves wandering down these hallways, looking at different exhibits, and then it opened up into this large room. We saw these big bronze gates, we walked through them, and in that, on the other side was the rotunda. And on the other side of the rotunda were the founding documents. Declaration of Independence on the left, 4 pages of the Constitution in the middle, and the Bill of Rights on the right. This is when we learned that these are known as your Charters of Freedom. Now, one of the things I liked was once we got into the rotunda, there weren't any lines. You just wander around looking at different displays, and when you got a chance, you stepped up and looked at the documents. And I will never forget the first time I saw the Declaration of Independence, something our founding fathers had actually penned. And then I looked down and I saw their signatures. Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, John Adams, Rutledge Wilson, and the others. I just got goosebumps. And then we moved over and we saw the first page of the U.S. Constitution and those three words, "We the people." I actually got a lump in my throat. I looked over and Mary Jo's wiping tears out of her eyes. It was really an emotional experience for us. Well, the next year, back in Burke County, I was thinking about that experience. And the thought came to me, what if I could duplicate that experience? What if I could bring that experience back to the citizens of Burke County? So I told Mary Jo about it. She liked the idea, and we started working on a project. And it turned out to be an educational project. And the scope was to design and build a replica of the display of the Charters of Freedom as seen in the rotunda. Place that display in a central location in Burke County. It had to have high visibility, high foot traffic, and easy access for school children and veterans. Well, it took 2 years to get this done, even though it was a gift from Mary Jo and I to the county. There were a number of problems we ran into. The biggest one was there are no prints available for what's up in Washington. No measurements, no dimensions, no nothing. And we'd only seen this setting once. So after a late night approval from a joint session of the Burke County Commissioners and the Morganton City Council, Mary Jo and I got up, got in the car and drove back up to Washington, walked into that rotunda. And now they won't let you take a tape measure out and start measuring a national treasure. But we had a plan. Mary Jo went one way and I went another. And I went over to the Constitution and I did this. And I was standing in the middle. So I knew it was about 12 feet long. Meanwhile, Mary Jo is actually walking up to the settings, turning around and facing the crowd and marking on her body the different elevations. And then we left before anybody started asking questions. So while your setting here may not be exactly what's up in Washington, keep in mind it's based on 2 paces of a short guy and 3 marks on my wife's body. Well, on July 2nd, 2014, we dedicated the first Charters of Freedom setting outside of Washington, D.C., on the old Burke Courthouse Green in downtown Morganton. Mary Jo and I enjoyed the process so much, and it was so well received, we decided to do another one in Murphy, North Carolina, Cherokee County. That was dedicated on September 17th, Constitution Day 2014. We did a third one in downtown Asheville in Buncombe County. Now during this time we decided to set up a 501c3, a foundation, because we knew we'd be doing more. There are 3 principles in the foundation. Number 1 is education. From the beginning, this has been about education. Education on American history, the history surrounding the time of our founding of our country, and civics. We want people to understand how our government is meant to serve and protect we the people. The second principle is access. Not everybody can get up to Washington, D.C. to see the original documents. It took Mary Jo and I over 60 years to get there the first time. So we want to provide access in local communities to see these documents in a proper setting. And the last is about community, which is what you're experiencing today. Raeford and Hoke County now has a place where they can gather, as you're doing today, to celebrate, to honor, and to reflect. Now let me tell you a little about your setting here. One of the things I learned in life is that if you want a monument or a setting, you put more to last. You put more underground than above ground. Your foundation here goes down 3.5 feet. It is solid, reinforced poured concrete. The rebar then comes up into a solid poured core. Just the core and the foundation of this center setting weighs over 38,000 pounds, over 19 tons. There are 6 documents displayed here. They are life-size, which means the Declaration of Independence is a little bit larger than the others. Each one is on quarter-inch etched bronze and weighs over 60 pounds. Something else you need to know. There is no historic document known as the Bill of Rights. What's on display in Washington are the first proposed 12 amendments, signed by John Adams, President of the Senate. The first 2 were not ratified, so we have that document on display here. The first 2 were not ratified at the time. The last 10 are your Bill of Rights. There's a medallion on the front, as you can see. This is very special. We commissioned artists across the country to come up with this design. The eagle represents the Declaration of Independence. Proud, bold, defiant. There are 7 stars above the eagle. Each one stands for one article of the U.S. Constitution. And there are 10 stars under the eagle, which represent the first 10 amendments, your Bill of Rights. They are covered with a 1/2 inch of treated polycarbonate glass, which is unbreakable. Please don't try it. These settings are built to last 300 to 500 years. We'll show you how to take care of it. Now, people ask us why we're doing this. Because yes, it's very expensive, but we believe it's more important than money. We believe this gives us a direct link to our founding fathers by helping to preserve what it is that gave this country a government to serve and protect. We learned that we had 2 founding fathers who were very big on education. Thomas Jefferson, third president of the United States, actually penned most of the Declaration of Independence, and Benjamin Franklin, who was an author, an inventor, he was a scientist, and he was truly a sage. He's the one they would go to when they found that they had got stuck on a problem for his wisdom. These 2 believed that in order to have a free and independent country, we must understand how government works, that we cannot control what we do not understand. Thomas Jefferson, in 1787, said, "Educate and inform the mass of the people. They are the only sure reliance for the preservation of our liberty." And John Adams, a 5'4" virtual rock star of his era, said in 1822, "A people who mean to be their own governors must arm themselves with the power knowledge gives." You wouldn't believe how many people come up to us while we're building these and say, "That's it? Just 4 pages to the Constitution?" We say, "That's it. All of our laws and our government are based on those 4 pages." You wouldn't believe how many people don't know that the first 10 amendments are our Bill of Rights. I guarantee there are people here today that are learning that. You see? Education. Now, you may have noticed I haven't been calling this a monument. The definition of a monument is a memorial to honor a person or an event. This is not a memorial. This is an active, hands-on educational supplement for your school's curriculum. Imagine, if you will, teachers are bringing their 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade classes down here to your setting, your charters of freedom. And while they're here, they'll learn a little about our founding fathers, the history surrounding the era, a little about the federal government, the 3 equal branches, a little about the state and local government, and a little about local heroes. This is already happening across the country where these have been built. And the kids love these field trips, an actual hands-on educational experience, a true life experience that you all will provide for them. To date, we have dedicated 30 Charters of Freedom settings across the country. In North Carolina, South Carolina, Kentucky, Indiana, Illinois, Nebraska, South Dakota, and as far west as Carson City, Nevada. Yours is the 31st, the 21st here in North Carolina. And I'll say a little more about that later, but that's pretty cool. There are 3,142 counties, boroughs, parishes, independent cities, census zones, and the District of Columbia in the United States. Our long-term goal is to place a Charters of Freedom setting in as many of those communities as possible over the next 10 years. Our short-term goal is to do all 100 counties of North Carolina. and then do all 46 counties of South Carolina. So that people across the country are saying, what is going on in the Carolinas? Our hope is that our future leaders will come from communities that have their own charters of freedom, that their children will grow up no longer just talking about the Constitution and Bill of Rights in Washington, but they'll be talking about their Constitution and their Bill of Rights, the ones they grew up with right here in Raeford. Now for the challenge, and this is in the closing. Our founding fathers were challenged by the greatest force on earth back in their day, the British Empire. They rebelled, they revolted and fought a war and won that war against that empire, all the while setting up a government that is still in place over 230 years later and replicated by more than 60% of the governments around the world. Our founding fathers met their challenge. Commissioner Leach and Mayor McNeil were challenged with bringing the Charters of Freedom setting here to Raeford, and they have met their challenge. Your challenge actually started about 4 years ago. Mary Jo and I had just finished dedicating a Charters of Freedom setting at Hanover College in southern Indiana. And we were getting ready to leave, and I looked across the campus center, and there was a guy named Ron Wells, African-American facilities engineer, who had helped me a lot during the dedication. And I said, I gotta go thank this guy again. So I walked across and I walked up to Ron, shaking his hand. I said, Ron, thanks again for all the help. And he said, Mr. Patterson, thank you for making this contribution to our community. And I said what I usually say, you're welcome, and just make sure they use it after we leave. And Ron said, Mr. Patterson, I've already done that. I took my son over last night, and we had the talk. And I said, Ron, that means more to me than anything anybody's ever said. Way to go. So here's your challenge. You bring your child, your grandchild, your niece, your nephew, or other family member down here to your Charters of Freedom setting, and you have the talk like Ron Wells did. You tell them about their freedoms and their rights, and how those freedoms and rights give them an advantage over the rest of the world to pursue their passion, to chase their dreams, to accomplish their goals, and get out of life what they want to get out of life. If you do that, as far as this gift is concerned, from Mary Jo and I, and all of us at Foundation Forward, we'll call it even. Thank you. All right, and if now Chairman Leach, Mayor McNeil, County Manager Letitia Edens, and City Manager Dennis Baxley, along with Mary Jo, if you all will come up here. And that would include all the county commissioners and city officials. Charters of Freedom setting, located at Freedom Park, 104 North Main Street, Raeford, North Carolina, is hereby gifted from Vance and Mary Jo Patterson of Burke County, North Carolina, to the children, veterans, and citizens of Hoke County, North Carolina. All rights, responsibilities, and care for this setting, displaying the Declaration of Independence, the United States Constitution, and the Bill of Rights, are hereby transferred to Hoke County this September 11th, 2020. Anybody else say anything? No comments? No saying it. Such brave people. Oh heavens, no, I won't say anything. All right, at this time we're going to have the singing of America the Beautiful by Steve Phillips. Please.
I don't know if you folks realize it or not, but y'all just witnessed a miracle. You never get politicians at a microphone and they don't want to say anything.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of rain, from purple mountain majesty, above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crowned thy good with brotherhood, from seas to shining sea. Oh, beautiful for patriot dreams that sees beyond the years, thine alabaster city gleams, condemned by human tears. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood, from sea to shining sea.
All right, one of the things I didn't mention about your setting here is there's a time capsule. Actually, there's a vault in the back of this setting here. And in that vault is a time capsule. In the time capsule will be letters. There'll be letters from military groups, from law enforcement, from the city, from the county, from the education groups, and there'll be a letter from me and some from the foundation. Also other memorabilia of the time. And we're pretty open about what we put in there. Just keep in mind, it's going to be sealed and not opened until September 17th, 2087. That's the 300th anniversary of the U.S. Constitution. All safes, vaults will be open the same day, so it should be a pretty interesting day when somebody reads those letters. We will be giving the combination to the safe to Mayor Raeford. So if there's any problem opening the safe on that day and you're here, you know who had the combination last. I think I'll be 137 years old. All right, we're going to do a cannon salute. While they're getting ready, I'm going to tell you a little about the background of the cannon. Perry, you want to get your group together? The Command Sergeant Major U.S. Army retired Perry Snyder is instructing the group over there. When we did the first dedication, I knew I wanted to do a cannon salute, but I didn't know how many times to fire the cannon. I knew 21 times was not the right number. So I did a little history, looked it up, found that the cannon salute originated back in the 1600s when a ship would be pulling into port. The port wouldn't know if they were friendly or not, so the ship would turn its guns to sea and discharge them, 7 rounds. Well, the port, having more cannon and more powder, would answer 3 in kind, and that's where the 21-gun salute came from. Well, again, I knew that was wrong, so I remembered we had done business over in Scotland, and in Edinburgh, there's they like to mark the time of day like the British. What the British would do is fire 12 rounds at noon, so the ship's captains could set their clocks and the merchants and everything. Well, the Scottish, being Scottish, and that is my heritage, reasoned that why fire 12 rounds at noon when we could wait 1 hour and save 11 rounds. So every day there's a howitzer up in the old fort in Edinburgh that goes off at 1 o'clock. Well, I knew my number was somewhere between 1 and 21. And I decided on 7, partly because of history, but also because there are 7 articles in the U.S. Constitution. We will fire 1 round for each article of the Constitution. My drummer today is Nelson James, now becoming a part of history. He'll videotape, and it, of course, will go into the time vault. Command Sergeant Major Perry Snyder, are you ready? Drum roll, please. Article 1 defines the legislative branch, composed of the House of Representatives and the Senate. It describes their powers and responsibilities. Article 2 defines the executive branch, the qualifications for president and vice president, their powers, responsibilities, and means of removal from office. Article 3 sets up the judicial branch, the Supreme Court, and the lower court system. It protects the right of trial by jury and defines treason. Article 4 gives the states the right to make and carry out their own laws related to the people and problems of their state, so long as those laws do not conflict with the United States Constitution. Article 5 outlines the process of amending the United States Constitution. Article 6 sets the United States Constitution as the supreme law of the land, through which all leaders, including the executive, legislative, and judicial, must be loyal. Article 7 addresses the ratification and declares that the United States Constitution shall take effect with 9 of 13 states ratified. Children, veterans, and all citizens of Hoke County, I give you your charters of freedom.
Y'all are welcome to join in and sing. My country 'tis of the sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride, from every mountainside let freedom ring. Our fathers, God, to thee, author of liberty, to thee we sing. Long may our land be bright with freedom's holy light. Protect us by thy might, great God, our King.
I'd like to say a little quote that means so much to Hoke County and Raeford. It's the little things that turn into big things. This is where we're starting, right here. Big plans for Raeford. We want to continue on with this, keep our patriotic spirits together, and build this community, continue building this community. I want to, one more time, thank everybody for being here, all the dignitaries. Thank you for your time coming out. It means a lot to have a big showing. It shows that people in our community care about what we're doing. So I wish you goodwill on this glorious day that God has given us. Thank you all again.
I get the good part, the last 30 minutes. Again, thank you, Board of Commissioners. As we do stand biblical, as men was getting ready to go out on the battlefield fight, you may stand longer if you go, it's hot. As men was getting ready to go out on the battlefield to fight biblical, as they had to depart one from another, they remind of these words. Each of us, I ask repeat these words. May the Lord watch between me and thee, while we absent one from another. For this we ask, in Jesus' name, till we meet again. Amen. That's biblical. Sure.